guys, it's Raul again, bringing you guys today my first book review, and that is going to be on the Grisha Trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. So I'm going to start off by saying that I actually purchased this book series not even knowing what it was about. I actually thought it was a different book back when I first started viewing booktube videos. I heard about the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, and because I had, recently gotten introduced to all of these different YA books and new series and everything, I purchased this book thinking that it was the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor, only to find out later that this was not the series that I thought I had purchased. So it had sat on my shelf for a couple of months, kind of trying to figure out what this book was all about, waiting to see if I heard some more things about it, and kind of searching on YouTube more videos and some more reviews on what the book was about, and seeing kind of if I really wanted to read this series. And I am pleasantly surprised to say that this series turned out to be one of my favorite YA fantasy series that I have ever read. So I want to get into some detail as to why I liked it so much, some of the things that I didn't enjoy as much, but mainly I loved it. So let's get this started. So the Grisha Trilogy, consisting of Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo, takes place in kind of this fictional kind of Russia or Ukrainian kind of country, which is really nice. I mean, it's something that I had never really read in books, something taking place in like this kind of world, which I really enjoyed. It's about this girl named Alina, who is our main character in this trilogy, who is an orphan and is kind of raised up in this orphanage with her friend Mal, who they kind of, grew up together in this orphanage. When these kids are younger in this world of Ravka, which is the name of the place that they live in, they kind of test the kids to see if they have these special abilities. The people who have these special abilities are named Grisha. And they kind of get tested at a young age to kind of find out if they have abilities so that they can, go and get trained and become these big, powerful people that kind of rule and are, special because they have these abilities. So when they get tested when they're younger and they're living in this orphanage, they find that they don't have any special abilities, so they kind of, move on with them, and kind of they go on with their lives, and they join the army, and Alina becomes a map maker, and Mal becomes kind of a tracker and that kind of thing. So they're kind of, getting established in the army because they don't have any special abilities, so they're not considered Grisha. So one day they're going out kind of on this mission after they're kind of grown. I think they're about like 16, 17 years old. And they're going out on this mission to cross what they call there the Fold. The Fold is this big expanse of darkness that kind of inhabits their land and is full of different creatures and that kind of thing, and it's just always been dark, and they cross this fold to get to the other side to kind of get supplies and come back. So on one of these journeys that they're having, and Alina and Mal are going on, they kind of encounter an attack in the middle of this fold, and Alina finds out that she has a special ability that was able to save them from this attack. So this story kind of starts from there, Alina finding out that she has this special ability, and everybody kind of, wondering why she has this special ability or why she's developed this ability so late into her life, because they usually will show up in childhood. So the story kind of kicks off from there. Her kind of, developing these powers, force her to grow and kind of, use her ability that she has gotten. The character development in this series is kind of one of the big parts, kind of one of the main things that I really enjoyed about it. Obviously, you have this main character who grows up in something completely different, and it's all of a sudden kind of thrust into this new world with new things that she is not familiar with at all. And you have this character who just seems so human and so well responded to the things that are kind of going around her. I mean, anybody normal who's thrown kind of into this world will kind of respond in the same way that Alina did. One of the things that I really enjoyed about this series with the characters is that they just seemed so human to me. It seemed like they just dealt with a lot of the situations, a lot of the problems in a very kind of human way, a very smart way also. These are very smart characters that make I believe for the most part, very good decisions, and kind of react in a very real way to things happening around them. Alina, at the beginning of the series, kind of, starts off very quiet, very confused, not really knowing what's going on. Obviously, like I mentioned, she's thrust into this new world that she doesn't really know about, and kind of by the end of the series, is just a completely different person than what she started off with because of all of the things that have kind of happened to her, the things she's had to deal with, things she's seen, and the things that she's encountered, and she just becomes such a great character. She becomes very kick-butt. She is very smart, just such a well-rounded character that I just absolutely loved. Some of the side characters in this series I also really enjoyed. Like I said, Mal, her friend, kind of a side character, but usually mostly a main character also. I really loved Mal's character too. I mean, the growth that he kind of goes through and the things that he goes through also just makes him such a wonderful character, such a well-rounded person in this series. And I think that Mal and Alina's relationship is just definitely one of the better relationships that I kind of read in YA fantasy. And you'll kind of, if you do read this series, or if you have read this series, you kind of see why. Thinking about kind of the other young adult fantasies that I've read and kind of relationships between people that kind of occur in these other books is just kind of, I don't want to say flawed, but a little kind of weird how they, just meet and they fall in love, and, this whole insta-love thing that a lot of people don't enjoy. I don't enjoy it either, just because of the fact that I don't feel like it's very real. The relationship between Alina and Mal, I believe, is very real, very convincing, and very, very well done, very well written. Some of the other side characters that I really enjoyed in this series, Genya is the kind of first Grisha that Alina really kind of meets when she first gets introduced to this whole Grisha world, and they kind of, become friends, and their relationship kind of evolves from there. They have their highs and their lows, things happen that I don't want to spoil them, but I really like the relationship between Alina and Genya. I feel like it's a very good kind of friendship that blossoms through all of this, and the things that happen through it, I believe, are just really good. I like kind of seeing these other relationships, these good friendships outside of kind of the romantic aspect in young adult series, and this is something that you don't really normally see in a lot of young adult series. They kind of focus on the romantic part and then just don't really focus on any friendships or anything. So I really liked the fact that they kind of, threw in like that really nice friendship between Alina and Genya, who I really, really enjoyed. I know it's somewhat controversial, some of the things that Genya does. Apparently, I've heard other people kind of complain about Genya's ability, and I don't really want to get into a lot of detail on that because I don't really want to spoil anything either. But a lot of people have seen a little bit of controversy as to what Genya does and kind of how she's viewed in this book series, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed her character. I really enjoyed everything kind of that was going on around her and the story that was, happening around her. The other characters that I really enjoyed in this series was Nikolai. Nikolai gets introduced later on in the series. I don't believe he's in the first book at all, but he's also one of the characters that you kind of get to know and kind of start to interact with Alina, and they build up kind of a story and a relationship in there also. This is one of the series that kind of sort of has what you might call a love triangle. Alina kind of has relationships with multiple different men in the series, not romantic relationships for the most part. But I feel that the way that it was done in this series was very well done. Not like another series where it's the girl and she's in love with multiple guys and she's just trying to pick between all of them. It's definitely not the case in this series. Kind of the relationships between her and the three different guys that are going on throughout the series is something that was done very well, was written very well, and I really enjoyed kind of seeing her interactions between each one of these people, and kind of not really sure at one point if, one person was good or bad, if one person really loved her or not. And I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I really enjoyed the relationship between her and all of the other people around her. Eventually, when the cast of characters starts to grow further on into the series, I really loved the interactions between them. I believe this trilogy has great character development, like I said, a great cast of characters overall, and I just really enjoyed these characters in this series. And I know that I'm really going to miss them now that I'm done with this series, but I really enjoyed it overall, the characters in this story. Another aspect of this trilogy that I really, really enjoyed is the action. I really love action-packed stories. Like, I do love, you know, a love story kind of weaved into there, which this one obviously had, but I do love something very, very action-packed. And this definitely does not disappoint with the action. It is very, very good, very well done. All the action scenes were very exciting, very enjoyable, so I really, really liked kind of reading throughout these action scenes and stuff. Kind of toward the end of the book series, which is one of the things that I would have liked a little bit more, was just kind of have a little bit more action toward the end with like that big epic finale, which I didn't really get as much as I wanted to, but that didn't ruin it for me. I still think it ended very, very well. I really, really enjoyed the ending. I think it was very well done. I was expecting one thing and then got something else, and then I was kind of really happy at the way that it ended instead of what I was thinking was going to end. So I was really, really happy with the ending of the series. Like I said, I would have wanted a little bit more action toward the end, but it's completely fine. It was still done really, really well, and the series was still ended really, really well. So I would say overall, my reactions on this series were just amazing. The first book, Shadow and Bone, kind of starts off a little bit slower, but it is building up the world and building up the characters and kind of, you know, showing you what everything is about, which I really enjoy. Like, when it's a fantasy series and it's more than 3 books, I like that development. I like it when they kind of take their time to kind of build everything up and kind of get you sucked into this world and go into detail on what's going on and everything. So I really enjoyed the first one. It didn't have as much action as the other 2 books in the series, but like I said, it's just because they were kind of taking their time and building up this world and kind of telling you what everything was about, which I really enjoyed. And then book 2 had so much action, very action-packed, and then book 3 kind of, you know, took off from there and kept going with the kind of action-packed themes and, you know, the story that was just already really, really good. So overall, I gave this series a 4.5 out of 5. I believe I gave the first one a 4, and then the next 2 in the series I gave a 5. So overall, it definitely a solid 4.5, 4.75, definitely. I really, really enjoyed this series. I definitely recommend it for anybody at all interested in reading young adult fantasy at all, because I do think this series is definitely superior to a lot of other young adult book series that I've read. And I haven't read too many young adult book series just because I'm just now getting newly introduced to all of these series, and I'm slowly going through all of them. But I do so far think that this has been my favorite young adult series that I have read. Like I said, I haven't read a lot yet, but this is definitely my favorite so far, and I'm very, very excited to read more of Leigh Bardugo's stuff. 6 of Crows is coming out in September, which I've already pre-ordered, and I'm very excited because it does take place in the Grisha world, which I'm very excited to kind of revisit. Now that I'm done with this series, I kind of, am very excited to kind of read something else that's also set in this world. I'm very, very excited. Leigh Bardugo is now one of my favorite authors just because she did everything so well in this series, developed the characters so well, developed the world so well, and just told an amazing story of just like love and friendship and redemption, and just did it so beautifully, and I just really enjoy it. So yeah, guys, that is it for my review on the Grisha Trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have read these books and what you guys thought about it. So if you're planning on reading the series, I'm very excited to find out kind of what your thoughts are as you're reading the books. I'm really excited to see what your thoughts are on this series also. So yeah, guys, that's it for now, and I will see you guys next time.